Hello, this is John Speelman with the fifth round of the 78th Tata Steel tournament in Wjik, where Ding Liren has joined Fabiano Caruana in the lead after a lot of fighting. And we'll come to Ding's victory very briefly against Sergei Karjakin later. But the main game is going to be the world champion's first win of the tournament, in which he beat Loek van Wely. And he said something when he was interviewed after the game. He said, well, look, Luke's not so bad, is what he said. I think he was a bit shattered at this point, because he would have put it more politely. So you can't just beat him in demand, but you just have to play properly and see what happened. Obviously, he wanted to win. And what happened was that they played a Grunfeld. Okay. And when Luke played bishop f4, Magnus realized, since he wanted to play this line with bishop e6, which is trendy nowadays, that this is probably what would happen. And now he took with the bishop. If you take with the queen, then you go b3, queen a5 check, queen d2, queen takes, king takes, apparently. And this is an endgame in which Carlsen considers that white is very slightly better, which is certainly true. He'd be a happy bunny if he got it as white, and he didn't want this, so he decided to complicate a bit. So he played bishop takes d5, bishop takes queen d7. Well, I mean, if white tries to play something like a3, and you can go knight c6 and the bishop goes away and you play e5 and you're terribly active. Lots of tactics all over the place. So that's rather dangerous. So instead of that, Luke just gave up, retreated his bishop. This was a previous game as well. Knight c6 had been played in some game, Stugirov Navarra. Where's this? Is at the European Team Championship, I think. But Carlsen took an a2, likes his pawn, and he wasn't too worried about b3 now, because if b3, then he was going to go queen d5 with lots of trouble. So this all happened. Knight here, bishop c6. Carlsen said something. He didn't think that rook d8 was too bad. Takes, queen takes, bishop e2 when you can't take, but you can play e5, I think now, was his idea, with a reasonable position. Okay, well, anyway, he didn't do this. He kept his bishop, which you can imagine. So we've got knight c3, bishop c6, and now h4. This was something of a surprise to Carlsen, who didn't seem to like playing h5, which he thought weakened his king's side more than white's. I'm not sure about that. I suppose if white can play something to tee up to play bishop c4 and queen g6 or something, then that might be annoying. I think I'd have been tempted to play h5 myself, but he went rook d8 anyway. Queen b3. Now the reason for queen b3 is because if you go h5, then queen e6 is quite annoying, threatening to take on d4. So instead, Van Wely played queen b3 first, which is quite a clever move, and queen f5. Now this was based on a simple miscalculation, as Carlsen explained. h5. Now he wanted to play knight d7, but then he realized that after h takes, d5, knight c5, queen c4 is good for white. Obviously, if you take queen takes and h8 hangs, you can try knight e4 here, actually, because if queen takes, bishop takes c3, and if knight takes, bishop takes d5, but pawn takes bishop should be good for white anyway. So that didn't happen. So something's gone very slightly wrong. So you can't play knight d7, so he went e6. H takes